how do I pose this delicately? But I'll try. Trump has no idea of what he's doing. You could, and I guarantee you that Tucker Carlson or Steve Bannon or any of these people believe that if you pointed to a globe and you said point to the Middle East, Trump would have no idea what it is.
I'm Joanna Coles. I'm the Chief Content Officer of The Daily Beast, and this is the Daily Beast podcast. I hope you're either listening or watching, possibly on YouTube, and we're about to talk to James Carville. Before we do, I wanted to address the hundreds, thousands of comments, actually, that you left us on YouTube. I now know that it's Senator Alex Padilla. I know that. Brits always have struggles with French and Spanish words in particular, but I've got that right, and I'm sorry that I got it wrong first time round. And secondly, many of you loved the Art Deco background that I have. It's just the hotel I'm staying in. I wish I could say it was my boudoir, as someone referred to it. It's not my boudoir, it's a hotel room. But there's so much stuff going on in the world right now. Who better to talk to than our favourite elder statesman, the national treasure of democratic politics, none other than James Carville. James, was that a glass of red wine I just saw?
I did. I am.
I don't blame you. Where are you?
I'm in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia.
Oh, fabulous. Okay. James, so as Israel and Iran appear to be battling it out, so MAGA seems to be battling it out. You've got Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, Tulsi Gabbard on one side. You've got Donald Trump, Mark Levin, Pete Hegseth on another. What do you make of this? Is this the beginning of something serious within the MAGA movement?
Right. Well, first of all, thank you. And your question obviously deserves some serious consideration. So I'm going to try to do this. I think this rift has always existed below the surface. I mean, I've known Tucker Carlson for a long time. I've done TV with him. I've spent time in the green room with him. I've done speeches with him. I generally do not comment on Tucker, but this is a pretty consistently held view that Tucker's had over a long period of time. I mean, Ted Cruz, the interview that Tucker put up, I mean, Ted Cruz was like a fool. And he kind of was. And I certainly don't, I think Tucker's kind of pacifist instincts are been there for a long time. But I interviewed Val Nasser today. And you got to know what Iran is and exactly who you're fooling with. This is a pretty advanced country with some pretty sophisticated people and sophisticated engineers. And I guess I'm neither a hawk or a dove on that, but know your enemy. You better be sure who you're dealing with. This is not Iraq by a long shot.
Right. And Ted Cruz failed to know what the population of Iran was. He failed to know what the tribal breakdown was when Tucker asked him. Do you think this split, which may have been under the surface and is now coming to the surface, can become difficult for Trump to manage?
Well, you got to lay that over the Ukraine problem, of which the Tucker in Bannon wing, I don't get into internal right-wing politics, tend to be much more pro-Russian than and then there's a very among self-described conservatives, there's a substantial number that support the Ukrainians. So these are two kind of fissures that exist on the right, and they're both kind of foreign policy things. And I think they both signal a different approach. I mean, we kind of grew up with the Brent Scowcroft, Jim Baker, kind of Reagan interventionist model of Republican policy that you've identified something that is not likely to go away anytime soon.
So, James, you've known Tucker Carlson a long time. Why is he pro-Russia?
Well, I've known him, and I've really tried to make it a policy of my personal. I just don't comment talk about, I kind of miss, to tell you the truth, he was a good friend, and the circumstances conspired where we don't socialize it much anymore. I think I think this is something like I say, this is pretty consistent with green room conversations in 2002. I mean, maybe you can remember Crossfire, which was Paul, myself, Bob Novak, and Tucker. We were probably the most anti-Iraq war show on television. In fact, many people think that's why it got canceled, because we just didn't buy the party line we've been given on Iraq. I don't know, but I do know actually Paul and Bob Novak and myself were against him again. And Tucker, as I recall, came out for it and he was for it for like 2.5 weeks. And he said it was the biggest mistake he ever made. Look, isolationism and intervention have been part of the U.S. political debate for a long, long time. I mean, remember, it was particularly intense during the lead up to the late 1930s and lead up to World War II. I mean, there was a huge isolationist movement in this country, and to some extent it still is. And by the way, we have had disastrous wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, so it's not like you can say, well, these people are just off base, they don't understand the world. They would suggest to you that they understand it well, and the less we're involved in it, the better off we are. I'm just giving you that point of view. I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that I agree with it, but it's a point of view that they really hold, and they've been pretty consistent on it.
Donald Trump seems uncertain yet as to what he thinks should happen in the Middle East. What are you sensing from what he's saying so far, which is he won't say one way or the other?
How do I pose this delicately? But I'll try. Trump has no idea of what he's doing. You could, and I guarantee you that Tucker Carlson or Steve Bannon or any of these people believe that if you pointed to a globe and you said point to the Middle East, Trump would have no idea what it is. All right. So he's never given an iota of thought to this. He knows not one piece of history about the region, about the adversaries, about who's this. He is he's massively ignorant. And I don't know that anybody would really dispute that. I mean, some of the MAGA people would say, he's master negotiator, he's the closer, or some kind of nonsense. But I don't think Trump even knows where the Middle East is. I'll be honest with you.
So, James, how nervous should we be about this? I mean, this is a very serious situation. I'm sitting here in the south of France, somewhat in a luxury bubble, but there is enormous concern in Europe that this is going to lead to one of the scenarios.
Where are you in the south of France? Because I love that part of the world.
Oh, I'm in Cannes I'm at the Cannes Lions advertising.
Okay, good. Okay, all right, great.
But there are people here from all over the world, right. And there's enormous anxiety that this is, as we know, one of the scenarios that the Pentagon used to use as a possibility for the beginning of World War III. How frightened should we be if, as you're right, Donald Trump doesn't actually know how to pick out Iran on a globe?
I've traveled a lot this year, and I hadn't been to but I've been to London, Paris, and I get stopped on the street. I mean, of course, it's like in Mayfair, half of them are Americans, all right, or 10 to 6 in Paris is every other person you see. And they'll really come up to me, weirdly comment, and it's, Mr. Carville, I'm really scared. And you know what I say? You're not near scared enough. Mm-hmm. If you knew more, you would even be more scared than you are. And you have anybody does. Anybody in particularly in the West, but it's just the kind of world I grew up in is the world you and I grew up in. Everything that we've kind of done, I think West is, European Union and the United States have had, remarkable history and provided for a remarkable way of life, a remarkable sense of political and freedom. And it came at a very difficult price. Don't get me wrong.
Post-Second World War.
A lot of trouble to get where we are, and it's all at risk. It's literally all at risk. And we have a buffoon in the most important job in the world who has no respect for any laws, any international order, anything that has brought about a prosperity and a freedom that's frankly been unmatched in the history of the world. And with a blow gasket. You should be there. I mean, look, enjoy the wonderful climate in the Mediterranean. And by the way, one of my favorite references, a place that a little town called St. Paul de Vence, which is right up in the mountains, not very far from the coast, called La Combe d'Or. And if you ever get a chance to go there, it's a very fragrant and, I love that place. But
that's a very luxurious restaurant.
Oh, yeah, well, it's cut outside and smelled like trees. And but it is. You're right. It's not it's not a McDonald's, but it's a great little town. But at any rate, all of those things that you're enjoying right now, that people have thought about and bled and constructed, and a whole trading system, it's all at risk. Don't kid yourself. It's no guarantee it'll be here in a year or two. And again, you cannot overestimate the sheer ignorance of Donald Trump. It's impossible.
When you say you can't guarantee that it would be here in a year or two, what scenario do you actually think is possible that would bring it to an end?
Oh, well, so we lose any sense of constitutional order in the United States. People right now are forging new trading agreements. If you look at what happened in the G7 in Alberta, he storms out of there because no one wanted to make a deal with him in the world. Is starting to learn, and this is not good for the United States, is they can live without us. We just thought the world just wanted our market so bad. They wanted our movies and our airplanes, and they wanted our aircraft carriers to be patrolling, and they wanted a strong dollar, and maybe they'll move to a different system. And the system that we live under has been very beneficial to the United States, been very beneficial to Western Europe, been able to enjoy protection from the United States. And, we went to a lot of trouble. We had NATO, we had the European Union, and people say, well, gee, man, that's expensive, that's complicated. Yeah, you know what's really expensive and complicated? A European land war. Try that. See, you want to try something that doesn't turn out well? Oh, let's take 1918. Let's take 1943. It didn't go very well. And we had established something to stop that, and we're losing it. And then you got Putin, trying to gobble up territory on, the eastern side of the European Union. It's going on right now.
So, James, do you think that Republicans who voted for Donald Trump, who claimed that he doesn't want war, he doesn't like war, do you think this is what they bargained for?
I think, like most politicians, the first thing that they're looking for is political survival. And you cannot survive and prosper as an elected person in today's Republican Party without showing groveling fidelity to Donald Trump. And these Republican voters demand that. I mean, I'm in Louisiana where you've sent to Cassidy. He's a very nice man. I know him. He's a physician. He voted to impeach Trump. And he was forced to go along with Bobby Kennedy. Senator Cassidy knows Bobby Kennedy is a giant fool. And, of course, we see in the entire vaccination. One of the greatest health advancement in the history of the world of vaccinations. More people live better lives as a result of vaccination than any other single health intervention that ever existed. It's not even close. We have a sample size of 1 billion people been vaccinated or something. And you have been vaccinated, I've been vaccinated. We all have in common, we don't have smallpox and we're all walking around.
Right.
I mean, how regressive and stupid can you be to turn your back on the greatest health intervention in the history of medicine? That's what they do it.
Why did Senator Cassidy in the end vote for Bobby Kennedy?
Yeah, he wanted to be reelected. He's now drawn two. I can't tell you if the people at the Republicans that run against him are idiots, because I don't know that, but they certainly express support for idiotic things. And the only way that he can survive is they split the vote sufficiently enough, and maybe he could sneak in like that. I don't know, but I don't think he's going to be able to win re-election. And I think he gave up a lot in terms of his reputation, the way people looked at him, thought he was, well, you know, everybody that I know knows Senator Cassidy. People like him. His wife is quite popular in Louisiana. It's like any other culture when you know people, but the guy's just, you know, it's the old, you know, throughout literature, you make a bargain with the devil and it never turns out right.
Right.
It never turns out right. You know, if only you give me these temporal things, and I'll have it always blows up in your face, and that's as old as literature.
It seems particularly odd that a doctor would have voted for Bobby Kennedy Jr. too, especially I know that he took extra time to talk to him, and he sort of made the appearance of, you know, interviewing him at great length. But of course, as you say, he's fired everybody on the vaccination committee and hired his own group of people.
It's you know, and it's in some senses, since Cassidy's done some honorable things in his life, you know, well, kind of respected, and this is what he's going to be remembered for. This is going to be, you know, Bill Cassidy, your senator who caved to Bobby Kennedy and Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's not a great legacy.
No.
So, James, how do the Democrats exploit this moment, this Republican Party?
Thank you for asking the money question here. Right now, if you look yesterday in Virginia, there was historic turnout in the Democratic primaries. We didn't have a governor's race. And I think people are leading the resistance, and as it well should be. And I don't think the Democrats are going to be in total position. They're certainly going to exploit the big, beautiful bill, of which no one likes. And I think that the resurgence of the Democratic Party will really be complete when we get a presidential nominee who has the ability to speak across the entire party, and people that support it. So I don't think we can rush this. I really don't. But the good news is we got so many goddamn talented candidates out there, and we just got to trust that we have. For whatever reason, we probably have more talent right now. We have had. Look at how strong our candidates are in New Jersey and Virginia. I mean, these are remarkably, under any cycle, eminently well qualified, eminently sensible, eminently bright people that are going to be the face of the Democratic Party. And it's not going to be a bunch of poo-ha's running around, do something, charge, you know, all that silly crap that you see. It's become part of Democratic politics. We got some real leaders coming, and that's going to matter.
So, James, we had Governor Newsom on the podcast last week, and we got an enormous amount of support for him on the comments on YouTube afterwards. And obviously, Donald Trump handed him a national platform when he brought in the National Guard to Los Angeles. Right. How would you assess his performance?
But he's been given the greatest gift that a politician can have. He's got a staggeringly good foil, and he's handled it very well. I mean, look, this was his kind of moment, and the sun shined on him, and he made hay. And I think his performance through all of this has been very determined, very on point, and I think he's increased his profile quite substantially as a result of this. I really do. And everybody sees this, is appalled by it. He's appalled by Trump, basically trying to do away with the state of California, which is, is an amazing thing. I know Japan is a very successful nation. Okay. I think they have 125 million people. California is a staggeringly successful state. Let's say they have 45 million people. Their GDP is higher than Japan. It's the fourth largest GDP in the world. So this idiotic California bashing, which is just what it is, idiotic. We should all be so lucky is to be Californians, to be honest with you. It's the greatest system of higher education ever devised by any place anywhere in the world. There are more patents that come out of there per capita probably than most any place in the world. So, but he was given an opportunity and he made good use of it. And I admire him and congratulate him for that.
Donald Trump, among other things that he said over the last couple of days, has said that he wants the VA hospitals treating veterans not to treat veterans who aren't married, and to avoid, or if they want, they can choose not to treat veterans who are Democrats. I'm not sure how they would know that, which seems, even for Donald Trump, to be a pretty off-the-wall statement. And I'm just, curious as to what you make of it.
You got a week? No, you don't. So I'm going to try to distill it as much as I can. There are 17.6 veteran suicides a day in the United States.
How many?
17.6 a day.
That's terrible.
The most sacred contract that any government can make is with its soldiers and sailors. Look, you come in, we're not going to pay you very much. You're more likely to get hurt or injured or have something bad happen to you during this than most other people. But what we're going to do in exchange for that is we're going to give you good health care, good benefits. We're not going to leave you in the lurch. And, of course, Trump, the couple bone spurs himself, has no idea using these soldiers on Saturday afternoon to his own sort of glory. Decides that he's going to pick and choose what veterans get what. During the 92 campaign, one of the big honors that I got is we did an event with the Tuskegee Airmen.
Oh, yeah.
It was this very famous squadron of black pilots in World War II. I don't know, but my sense is most of them were Democrats. About a reception they gave. He was some of the most honorable people that we've ever had in our country. And the fact that how do you determine if you register Democrat? I mean, I have no idea what he's talking about, but Donald Trump is a man of no couth, no upbringing, no sense of curiosity, who doesn't have the remotest idea of what service. But by the way, why would he give any veteran anything? He told General Kelly that they were all fools.
Right, suckers and losers.
Yeah, suckers and losers. Yeah. So you cannot. We don't have the time, and I don't have the vocabulary to say what a wretched person this guy is.
I think you do have the vocabulary. It's a family podcast.
Right.
You mentioned the parade, the big birthday parade. Do you think he was wounded by the protests, the No Kings protests in 2,000 cities across America? I mean, the between 4 and 6 million people who turned up to protest peacefully?
I think he was more wounded by the parade, didn't turn out like he thought it would. He thought there would be masses of people. The soldiers were clearly, so you're a soldier, and the call you, and maybe you're stationed in North Carolina or somewhere, and you got to come to Washington for your weekend. You got to show up 5 hours before the parade. It's a Saturday in June. All right. You got to dress up in uniform. You got to march for I don't know how many miles. You're very happy about it. And for what? Not to engage an enemy, not to do anything. I mean, it was a 250th anniversary of the United States Army. And of course, Trump makes it all about himself. And you can see that these youngsters were not particularly enthusiastic about being there, having been, I guess I was a Marine, not a soldier, but I wouldn't have liked having to go march around on a Saturday afternoon to glorification of some idiot jerk. But then I think I don't blame them for the way that felt.
Okay, bye. Be very afraid. Well, not the happiest notes on which to end, but I like to think of James sitting calmly now, sipping his red wine in his farmhouse in the Shenandoah Valley, and I'm about to go and have a glass of rosé on the Croisette. Join me on Sunday for a conversation with Evan Osnos. He decodes the super yachts and the crazy habits of the uber wealthy, the plutocracy, the uber billionaires, which is perfect for the weekend before Jeff Bezos' wedding to Lauren Sanchez in Venice. Join us then. So even if you're a billionaire listening to this, be beast. This podcast was produced by Devon Rogerino and Anna von Ursen, and it was edited by Jesse Millward.